Okay.
All right. This is the OpenELIS Worksheet Completion version 2 training, and introduction and training. Hopefully you guys will be blown away by what we're doing here today. Okay. So, you guys are familiar with the current worksheet completion version here. So just kind of pop this up. You get a little query screen to look up your worksheets, and you go do your thing. We're going to change that a little bit for you. So let me start off. Dive right in. Okay, so for now, on the test system, it says worksheet completion 2. So if you want to go try it out, that's where you go try it out. When we move it to production, it'll just be the transparent. You'll just click the same place. It'll only be the one because we're not going to have the transition there because it's not compatible with instrument interfacing. So you go click on menu item. Oh, wonderful, small screens. So here you see you don't get the initial pop-up. So because it's where we've redone the screen to be more like consistent with the other screens. So it's got the standard query features on it with the left bar. You'll notice a couple new features of, there's this slider over here as opposed to the shade thing that pops in and out, so you can resize that, give you a little more room. The whole window itself also resizes, as with all our new screens that we've updated. Top, bottom, left, right. Okay. The tabs tear out. If you've seen this on the newer screens, you just drag a tab and there it is, just sits out there. So you can just, and it'll update with all your other information as you go through the different worksheets. So let me go through here, standard query, so you can just, as normal, you just click query. If you happen to know a worksheet number, or if you know hey, it's my stuff, that's still in working status. We've got multi-select on the status, so you can pick multiple selections. You can go, say, all working and done's. You can go by create date, or if you remember from our workshop builder discussion, you could put in your custom description. So if you remember what description you put on your worksheet, you can use that for your course. So I hit commit here, and as you can see, over on the left side, you'll see all the worksheet numbers that came back from the query and the descriptions, so you can see which one you're looking at. You can go next through them, you can click on each one. You can page through them. And if you notice, it is significantly faster even on the larger worksheets. They've optimized it quite a bit. So there's query. You can query by any of these fields up here. So all of the 8 fields. Okay, you'll notice we've got a couple new tabs here. You've got your standard worksheet tab and your standard note tab that we had from the previous version. Now we also have an overrides tab, which previously was only in the Excel file. So now you can see all your overrides for the users, the started date, completed date. We also have a brand new reagents and media tab. So this is for the stuff like, obviously, your reagents and media, the stuff that you want to keep track of, but it doesn't take up a spot in your worksheet. So use, I'm trying to think of examples anyway.
It doesn't need a position like your media batch lot number.
Yes. So if you want to keep track of that stuff on your worksheet, you now have a place for that, and you don't have to take up a spot in your regular worksheet.
Well, you will need to create a QC.
Yes, they do come from the QC table, just like as always. That's kind of where we've got everything loaded in there. So you'll have to create the QCs, and then you can just add them on to this tab like normal. And I'll go through that a little more detail later here. Okay. Any questions about my really, really quick run through of query?
Not everybody can make the QC, right?
Correct.
That's still the same?
Still the designated group of people that can do QCs. Hank, any questions? Have I completely lost you?
Can you make changes in the overrides if you see that you made a mistake?
I will get to that.
Okay, I figured.
All right. So let's go to the fun part. So let's query up. Oh, another thing you'll notice up here at the top, we've got an extra bar for export, import, and now there's a new feature of transfer results, which I'll get to. The new worksheet completion is two-phase now. Previously, as soon as you put in the results and committed them, it saved it right to your analyses. Now we're going to have a two-step process where you put in everything, it saves it just to the worksheet, so that you can mess with it all you want. And then when you've got the worksheet all the way you want it looking, you will click on you'll go to the transfer results mode, and you will send the particular results you want to your samples. And I'll explain that in more detail in a bit. So let me query up my example worksheet I created a few minutes ago. As you can see, you can obviously type query by your worksheet number. And this is a OpenELIS worksheet. You can say it's got a format, it's got a description. As you can see before, the description defaults to the testing method. It's created earlier. If you scroll up here, you'll see all your columns as before: raw value, final value, expected value, get your reportable column. We've, just like on the builder screen, we've added the unit column so you can see your units. Scroll down through all your samples here. If I go to overrides tab, I haven't put any overrides in yet, so there's nothing there. No regions, no media, and I haven't put any notes in yet. So you come in, you say, hey, I've done all my work, I want to actually start putting in results. So you click update, just like before. You don't have to do the other thing. We've got actually, I'm going right into it, aren't I?
Yeah.
In place edit. If you don't have any format, any formulas, like in your Excel files, if all you're doing is just putting numbers in, we now have the feature that you can just edit it right in place. So if I want to just put in a couple values here, put in 20, put in 40, 300, 15, and just start going down the line. We also have another feature, along with inline edit, we also have, you select a whole bunch of rows here. So on all these, edit multiple. Click this button, pops up and says, hey, here's all the analytes on all the samples you just went through, and here's all your columns you can edit. So if I wanted to put in for benzaldehyde, as I'm butchering these things, I want to put 45 in for that, or I want to put 60 in for this result. We've got a checkbox up here for if empty. It's set there by default. That's for if you already have results in. If you're coming back like this, the second you come back, you've put some results in earlier in the day, and you're coming back and putting more results in, and you're using the edit multiple. If you keep that checked, it will not override existing results. It will only fill in the blank ones with what you've selected here. If you uncheck that, every row you put, it will put those values in, whether there's value there or not. So I'll go ahead and click OK.
Repeat that again. If the empty box is checked,
If empty is checked, it will only fill in blank cells with the data that you've picked here. So benzaldehyde already has a value for final value, and it will not overwrite it to 45. It will just leave it whatever value is already there. If you uncheck the field, no matter what value is there, it's going to put 45 in. So I will leave this checked because I don't want to override any of the existings. I will click OK. So we'll refresh a bit, and you'll see 45 is under there, it was under there, 60, 45, 60, all those samples I had selected. It fills in the final value that I picked.
I have a question, Matt.
Yeah, that edit multiple, is that only for numbers? Can we like edit the compounds right there,
Any-
add compounds?
It's only for the column values out here.
Okay.
So if you're
So
putting, it's
only
not just
numbers.
numbers if they have dictionaries on them or other things. It's
Okay,
any
not
of
the
these-
analyze.
Right, no, it's not for messing with the
Okay.
analyze, no. It's just for putting your values in. We also have handy select all and unselect all buttons. So if you want to select everything, you don't have to click every single row. And also for the edit multiple, you don't have to select since the edit multiple is actually analysis based, it's not per analyte row, you can actually just click one of the rows within an analysis row, and it'll actually put all three of, it'll put everything in. You don't have to select every single row, you just have to get one row in the group.
Can you copy and paste?
From like,
Like if you have a quant limit you want to change and you've got 70 of them to do, put it in once and copy and paste down
that's what the screen's for. You just,
on the other page without the edit multiple. Can you copy and paste in there?
it's gonna be each cell individually, it's not like Excel.
Okay.
But that's why we created that, and
Gotcha.
so you select
So
the
edit
whole thing.
multiple is to do that.
Yeah, so you select that, you select everything you want to edit, you pop up the window, you put in your values, and it sets them all in.
So you can copy and paste. That's
Yeah,
what you're
just,
saying.
you have to use that at multiple screen to do it.
Okay, edit multiple 60 for the next 5 rows. Underneath that 60. Could be a lot.
Yeah, if you want just those 5 rows, since it's all on the same analysis. Okay. You mean for that analyte or for?
Yeah.
For formaldehyde, put in 10 for quant limit.
Okay, so if I want to, let me just say select all, go to edit multiple. Formaldehyde 10 quant limits.
And then can you copy 10 and paste 10 all the way down?
Well,
But
you
he's
know,
typing
like,
it.
she's talking about like highlight one, control C, and then
No.
control V.
Okay. Jerry says no.
The answer.
Okay.
Well, no. Well, that's a bummer.
I mean, if you want formaldehyde on all 10, you know, it's going to put formaldehyde on all of 10 for quantity for every single sample here. But yeah, it's not like Excel. It's just a table edit.
It will put the 10 in there for every sample.
Yeah, it's,
Right.
as you can see, if I scroll down, 10 quant limit for formaldehyde's in for every single sample.
Yeah, but when I delete a sample, it's for every compound within the sample.
Well, if you do just for one sample, it should do for all of them then, because it sees all the compounds and then it'll put them in, is what he's saying. If you have that check mark.
Yeah, if you select all and say edit
Yeah.
multiple, put it that one.
Yeah, so that, so all the.
Like I
analysis-
said before, when I did, so I did that, and I said, if you want that,
It's just control C, control V down.
yeah. I just pasted all those 10s in. put
It
those
should do that
10.
for all the samples though on that
Yeah.
worksheet.
Yeah, and then they all go down, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Because it selected everything.
But that's not necessarily what we want though, because not every sample has dilutions, right? So then we have to uncheck.
You'd only have
Yeah.
to select the ones you want
Right.
to change.
I'm glad we'll be here.
Okay. So that's how edit multiple works with the select all and select all. So you can try to play with all of these other fields. You've got units and status you can mess with just like before. Overrides tab has the same feature. So it's got edit multiple, select all, and select all, but it's slightly different pop-up window since there's only 3 fields you gotta play with. There's a couple fields you gotta play with. You gotta resize that a little bit, but that should be okay. So if you want to put in all your starter dates, completed dates for these, and then your override users.
That's nice.
And it's also got the if empty as well.
I don't think it helps them.
Question, can you use that feature even if you have a format that does have formulas for the override?
You can you can do the overrides, yes. But just if you have
And you probably-
formulas on your Excel file, you probably don't want
Right.
to mess with this tab. You just
Right.
want to do export and import just like you did before.
Thank you.
So yeah, you can do your overrides tab there as well. Any questions so far? Okay, so we filled in a few things. Got some final values in there. I can go ahead and say commit. Go goes and fills all that stuff. So that, at this point, it has only saved those values with the worksheet. It has not touched any of your samples yet. So you go through and you say, okay, I've got everything on this worksheet the way I want it to look. You say, okay, I'm ready to send all this stuff over to my samples. You go click on the transfer results button. It puts you in kind of an update method mode. You'll see that a checkbox has now showed up in this first column, where it never was before. For every sample gets a checkbox. And by default it is checked. This is how you say, I want this analysis to be transferred to the results. You don't have to transfer everything. You can check whichever ones you want, and they will go over. By default, it checks all of them except for if you have two of the same analysis on the worksheet. It'll say, I've got exactly the same thing in two spots. I don't know which one you want. I will uncheck them, tell you, and say, you have to pick one of these. I can't say both of them because they'll override each other. So we'll say that. So you go through and say, I want all these are all the ones I got checked. I want everything to go over. So once you say, okay, I've picked all the ones I want, all the results look good, I go in and click commit. Updates for a minute. Everything just got saved to your samples. So if I were to go look at 1396, it should have all those values in it. So I go into tracking. Bring up 1396. Look at my Carbonis test. There's your values. Quantum didn't work, so I'm guessing it's not a regular field on this test, but it's okay. So everything that has a spot over here came over. All your values came over.
Could you quickly summarize again when you have two analytes the same on a sample?
It's, yeah, not so much analytes as analyses. So if I had 1396 Carbonis 3 twice on the same worksheet, it would not check it by default because you have to pick which one you want to be sent back to your samples.
Are you saying it will prompt you on that?
Yes, it should pop up. I can't remember off the top of my head whether it was a pop-up or a little message on the bottom, but it will tell you that something needs to be done.
And will it keep both the results though? Will you be able to?
Everything stays with the worksheet.
Okay, that you're able to look
Tell-
it up later.
Yes,
That's
you
what
don't go
I'm-
back. You can go back. Everything in the worksheet stays as it is. Nothing gets touched in the worksheet when you transfer. It just copies the values you want over to the samples.
There is a sample multiple, still have to check both of them before they can transfer.
It won't let you check both of them. If they're the same, if it's the same analysis, it won't let you check both of them. You have to pick one or the other.
What if you have two tests in there for the same sample number though?
I'm pretty sure I made it smart enough to figure that out.
So you don't need to check up both though, right?
They will have different IDs, analysis IDs, so it will figure it out and you'll have to know which one to pick.
Does this,
Hey, Matt. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, does this completion now, when you were putting it on the worksheet, before you transfer it over, you take the place of going into the M drive and transferring things onto the worksheet?
This is for, like I said, if you don't have any formulas, or if you're just, all you're doing is putting in numbers, it's a very simple worksheet, you can go in, yeah, that could take the place of that.
Okay,
If you have complex formulas and you need your Excel file to do those formulas, you still have to export it and import it. Export it, modify it, and import it, just like you would do now. Okay, what have I not covered so far? Okay,
Is there a reason why you did not put the worksheet in done status?
I had not gotten to that point yet. That is another
Oh,
step.
okay.
Once you that's basically just like right now, if you're completely done with this worksheet, you're not gonna come back and touch it anymore, just go, like I said, update, switch it to done, and hit commit. And that's in done status, and it won't let you edit anything anymore. Let's see, transfer, okay. I think in the current version, when you're doing the import from Excel, it forces you to be in update mode to do that. You don't have to go into update mode to import from Excel. It just, so if I go back, switch it back to working. Come on, there. These are all active, so you don't have to go into update mode to import from Excel. It'll do its own update mode, importing from Excel. Actually, it'll just import, it won't even, it'll just go.
Will it give you a little, like?
Yeah, it'll actually give you a
So-
progress bar as it's going if it
Right.
takes longer than a couple seconds.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because I can actually, I'll actually show you that. You'll have to keep your eye on the screen, it'll be quick. If it's a much bigger worksheet and takes a couple seconds to go, you'll see a little progress come across. And
Well, we really appreciate down in the blue, the worksheet was exported.
yes, and same as before, currently existing, it
It'll
tells you
check
where
it.
it was exported to.
Right.
And you know, like I said, if you go click import from Excel, same status bar, pulls everything in. And there, yeah, nothing was different, so I just pulled it all in. One caveat to remember, on the current version, your results get validated as soon as you load the worksheet. Right now, since it's just being stored in the worksheet, the results don't get validated until you push transfer them to your samples. So when you do the transferred results is when you'll see this one's out of range or if something doesn't match your ranges. You can put basically whatever value you want into the worksheet.
Oh, yeah, your
Yeah.
stats will change as well.
Yeah, yes. There's still the history option here, just in case you were wondering if that was still there. Let's see. I have another example here for 1537. Okay, so for here, this is going to show you, let me just update this real quick. Put in a couple of values. Commits. Transfer. Say I want both of them. Commit. Here's where you see your reflex screen. This should be fairly similar to what it was before. You see which sample, which test. The reflex test is going to be which section that reflex test is going to be. So if I say, yeah, I want to put both of those on there for reflex. Okay. And it says there's something wrong with the unit measure envelope, but if everything was good, it would have put those two tests on for you. And it would have gone right through. So that's, yeah, transfer results is also where you will see your reflex testing pop up. Okay. Let me show you the overrides tab. Oh wait, the reagent media tab. Let's actually do something there. So if I go to reagent media, you'll notice if you guys have seen the QC screen, it's got all the columns that the QC screen has, since these are basically QCs. You click add row, you go look up the QC. You want, I'll use a couple of arenas here just for the fun of it. And just adds them in. They don't have any position because these are cross worksheet reagents, so that's where you go. You can see your prepared date, usable date, expire date, which location they're in. Prepared units, everything you see on the QC stuff. I can commit and that will stay right in there for me.
But the question on the reagent media, obviously not QC lookup. If you would not be able to add a reagent media on low QC template, sorry.
That is a feature I'm working on programming it. So when you pick on the builder screen, when you pick your template, I'm going to program it so it pulls any. If you set up your media from your test definition, it'll pull those in for you too as well. So you won't even have to do this part on the screen because they'll already be there.
Will that be in
This-
place before we go live with this new completion tool?
It'll all come in together.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And that reminds me, this reagents media tab will also be added to the builder screen. Obviously, you're going to have to see what it puts all that stuff on when you're building your worksheets. I can even show you that. So you go to Builder, you can see here, same tab, the agent's media is now on both screens. Click right into the next. That was a blazing fast run through the worksheet completion 2. Any questions? Terry?
So if you've transferred results,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll see something in the results screen and realize something needs to be corrected,
Mm-hmm.
you can come back here, make the correction, and retransfer. It will overwrite
Yes.
everything that's selected to be transferred.
Yes, as long as it's not in release status. And also, that's another thing with the transfer results, when it automatically checks things, not only does it skip duplicates, it also skips anything in completed status. So it will not check completed status and now sees it by default. Just kind of give you so you don't accidentally overwrite something.
So show it to them.
Okay, let me see if I can find something. Commits, completed, completed. This is not here. Oh, there's one right there. So if I go, say, transfer results, none of these are checked by default because they're all in completed status. You can still go and check them and say, yes, I really do want to override these results, but it will not check them by default for you.
Can you go release one of these and show us again how it works?
Let's see if there's one that might actually be released on here. Let's just do this one. Release. Oh, it did release. Okay, just left the button there. Okay, that's a button. Okay, so it did release it. All right. So come back. Transfer results. Not checked because it's released.
Now click on it.
That's what I wanted them to do.
I can click to my heart's content. It won't check.
I want
it.
to also click transfer results.
I'm in
I just
transfer
wanted to
result
see
mode.
what it'll do.
It's already in transfer result mode. Also, if you wanted to update it as well, I wouldn't let you mess with anything. It's
Oh,
released.
that's good.
Can you do that? If you unrelease it, you can go back though.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, and once people start using an interface, they'll run the interface, pick up their data.
Yes, the
And
instrument
once OpenELIS picks the results up, they would come in here, and all the results would be there already.
Yep.
And all they would need to do is review it
Yep.
and say transfer.
Yep. You wouldn't even have to go in update mode. Just query it up. The system had already loaded them all from the instrument. Say, yeah, everything looks good. Transfer it and go.
Awesome. Could we also go through one that has an Excel that has formulas? You would probably, obviously, query, export, do your stuff on Excel,
Yeah.
import, check everything, transfer results, make sure they're checked, right?
Yep. Some more key stuff here. I gotta take a look at those buttons and not turn right. So let's say export. Go do your thing. Yeah, just like before you go out to Excel. So yeah, this one's one of the more complicated ones. It's got so yeah, you got all these calculated fields out here. So if you were to mess with all that stuff, it would do all its calculations out here. And you just load it back in.
But she wants you to actually do that,
Oh,
I
okay.
think. Can we pick a simpler one, for water lot maybe?
Like E. coli, one of the first ones, 533 or something.
This one?
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's got the one, so export, 1532. This one, let's close that up a bit. Okay.
00, 2020, 11.
Do you need dilution factors in on this one?
We can put 10, 10, 10. And then you have your transfer result, copy the final, sorry.
Let's get all those calculated and copies them over. Save it. You see, there's nothing there right now except those
Right.
quant limits. And what? All the fields are in there. Final value.
And if you want, you could override, do the, go ahead, go final values.
Why did final value not? I will take a look at that. Should have come over. Okay.
If you wanted, you could do an override at this time.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Any other questions?
So then you hit transfer results
Yep.
and update done.
And results, commits, updating, click, update, and done. All done.
Maybe you could change one of the values now and show how you can transfer the results. Again, have to retransfer.
Why does it still say it's initiated, not completed?
It hasn't refreshed,
Oh, okay.
so actually it should have just refreshed it.
Or when it transferred, it didn't.
It's because the final value
Yeah.
can't get filled in. Let's do this, let's do.
Just fill it in
Go
now.
back to working, commits, update. Oops. One. Now they're completed.
Is there a message that comes to you when you go in and you edit this? Let's say you forget to actually click the transfer results and commit. Will it tell you, hey, Nami, you went in and changed something, what do you want to do with it?
So if you X out, you're lost.
No,
You haven't lost
you haven't lost anything.
It does go ahead and save it to the worksheet.
Yes.
The worksheet, think of the worksheet as your paper. You can write things on it, and until you go sit in front of a computer and transfer those results from that paper to your sample, it's still sitting on your worksheet. And this one, everything is sitting on your worksheet until you decide to transfer it. And when you transfer it, all it does is it just copies it from your worksheet to your actual sample results. If you don't do that, your samples are still sitting in the initiated status. So it's not, oops, I forgot to do this, something is going to come to an end. It's like you didn't transfer your stuff from the paper to your samples.
I just know, like, when you're in Excel and you're hand typing in all your results, if you actually forget to save, file save, it saves it when you go to, or asks you to save it when you get out.
These screens do that. If you try to close out and you haven't hit the commit button,
Right.
Okay.
it'll say, hey, you need to commit.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
That's good.
Yes. Most of our screens say if you're in the middle of a commit, it says, hey, you're trying to close the window, you haven't
Okay.
committed yet.
Now, if you reboot your computer, that it will not save. That will not save. You have lost it. No,
I hit reload on the
browser.
browser.
Or the case where you time out of OpenELIS.
Or if you time out. Yeah, if you go somewhere else for 20 minutes, then 15 minutes, then yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Does the worksheet have to be in working status to transfer, or can you be in the done status to transfer?
You pretty much have to be in working status to do anything.
Okay.
I think about the only thing I'd let you do in done status would be put a note on it.
Did you ever go into the override section?
Very, very glancingly. So here, yeah, you can do just as before you did, so up these.
No, it's released, or they have results on it. They're completed.
Shouldn't matter. Something like a little screwy. I tested all that. Does those work? And the user's not working. Huh. Try a different one. Let's try this. I'll have to check that field. That should be working. Yeah, it was working last time I looked. Okay. But anyway, you could pop your calendar up, say, started yesterday. If you want to do that at multiple. Let's capsule. There you go.
So why wouldn't edit multiple work when you had just that line?
It will. Oh, it's obviously you're on one line.
Okay,
Why edit multiple on one line?
I was just picking
Yeah.
the group for
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, if you pick multiple lines, you can do that at multiple.
It's
Obviously,
just something, yeah. In the previous example, you just showed you could pick one of the analytes and it brought the whole group over. I thought this would.
this is on the overrides tab. There's only one row per thing on the
Right.
overrides tab.
Yeah, okay, that's why. That's good to know.
Let's see. Should we try this? Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just the tables. Yep. So if you can also do. Oh, let's try that again. Uncheck. Okay, why are my permission issues doing things? I swear I fixed all these bugs.
Is it on T or is it on
It's
your
on
machine?
T. This is on T. Okay. Fix it this way. Bugs should be gone. There. View multiple users.
And from previously, you would lose that if you were to generate your Excel worksheet. This one will actually keep it indefinitely. So all the values that you put on your worksheet, it's kept as to what you said
Okay.
for the time you said.
So now previously for QCs, there was no place to have the date time stored in the database, is that correct?
There was for started date and user, not completed date. There still isn't for completed data. Nope. Completed. See how store completed doesn't mean anything. No.
So for QCs, previously, that wasn't stored, right?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. It wasn't.
It was no place to store it. The users were no place to be stored.
Yeah. So now there will be.
Yeah, one of the things too, the date and time sometimes get messed up. Like the date that the analyst would start the worksheet would have the date that sample prep completed it, and that might be a day or two after you actually ran the sample. Is that gonna be fixed in this, or is that?
It should be already fixed.
Yeah.
So say again one more time, please.
Okay, when I go to complete a worksheet, and I go to the tab, to the users and the start times of the runs, I will see the start times of the extraction personnel, and that time will be often later than the date I ran it. In other words, it's pulling the times in that I actually create the worksheet. It's not carrying over their time from their worksheet.
This is not supposed to do that. This is a
It's-
new worksheet. It's the started time of that worksheet and it defaults to that and you overwrite from there.
Yeah, but when we copy and paste from the sample prep worksheet, their time, what I'm saying is it's showing their time as later than my time, the acquisition time. I pointed this out to Terry a couple times too, so I didn't know if this was gonna be corrected on this worksheet or.
This is a new bug I have.
Okay, sorry.
Is it a bug or is it a misunderstanding?
Yeah.
So
It's in Excel. It's the date time that's coming out from the database when an Excel worksheet is created. I don't know if that's the date time worksheet creation or what that is.
Everything should get the worksheet creation time by default as a started date.
That may be what it is, but there was no place to save it back in the database anyway, until now.
Thought we had that.
for the QC, are you talking, okay, so you're just talking about the QC and QC's old.
Right, so the wrong date's on for the QCs.
I always take the dates out, because I never saved them before anyway, I just deleted it.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was been fixed or gonna be addressed, or if we should just ignore it.
We certainly have a QC start date. I think you added the users to the QC as well. So both of them should be available. I don't remember about the completed, but the started should have.
They're all sharing the same fields now.
So probably
All three of them.
completed also has it now as well.
Yeah, well, really, this is the started date that's being carried over, because it's got their username and the date started.
Because you're
That's what I
copying the
entered.
prep from the previous worksheet.
Right, but then that number gets changed. And so it's now showing, instead of their prep date that they actually did say 3 days ago or whatever.
Is it
they prepped
showing the date that you put it on the new worksheet?
Yes,
That's, then nobody explained that to me that needed to be that way. I was assuming that everything you put on a new worksheet gets a started date of that worksheet. And then if it was not overriding something, that's,
sorry. I mean, if it doesn't get stored anyway, it's probably not a big problem.
it
It
gets
is
stored
being
now
stored.
though. It will be
Okay, well
stored
then
now.
that's gonna have to probably be addressed then.
You're gonna get all this from the instrument interfacing though.
Not for QCs.
Yeah.
The started date of your QC, that's gonna come,
They'll get the injection time for the QC.
but then it won't work though. See, if I understood what they were doing, is they are pulling their QCs from their prop worksheet from 2 days ago is the QC that are putting it over here. If that's the case, then the started of that date for that QC is 2 days ago, not when they're running it today. Did I understand that?
No, it's actually the opposite. The start date for the QC is after I had already run it, so they just prepped it. I think it's bringing their prep date, because it's got their prep initials, like say PMA for Peter Ma, and then the date he was extraction is supposed to be carried over. Well, that date's being replaced by the date I created the worksheet.
Which is when you created your analytical worksheet,
That's right.
and you don't want it to be that.
Well, I mean, because that's not really reflective of when he extracted it, because then oftentimes you're going to have the QCs showing up later than when they were extracted before you ran them, is what that indicates to me, or maybe I'm misinterpreting it.
I think I had it right. That you wanted to carry the extraction date from when they extracted it, because that becomes your QC on this analytical run, which is not what it's doing now. It's going to show your worksheet run date and time for that, rather than your extraction date and time.
Okay,
I think you're saying the same thing, which is different.
yeah.
But you got
Could
the
be.
same
Could
idea.
be.
Well, we probably need to flesh that out offline.
Yeah.
Question, timeline? Good.
Everything is going on 15th. That's why you guys are all being trained. We want the instrument interfacing up and going ASAP. It's your busy season. Everything else is lined up to do that. And that was our understanding and our directions. So if you guys see it differently, that's,
So this worksheet and the interface come online at the same time?
for the instrument to come online, it's necessary for this worksheet to be online. So this worksheet is going to be online on the 15th of July.
Great.
So then, my understanding from Bill is that we can meet that timeline for instrument interfacing for majority of your instruments.
We've got about 80% of them have completed their initial testing, so.
I'm excited.
So yeah, it's your busy season. This is a perfect time. It's going to save you a bit of time, quite a bit of time, I'm hoping, and reduce your cut and paste process. So it's just perfect time if you can do it, and that's what the push is from Mike to do this.
Well, test it out and send any bugs to Matt. The more people that test it, the sooner the better.
Yeah. Because the other one is going to be completely disabled. This is it.
This is gonna replace it completely.
Yeah, you can't go back and forth.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Matt, don't get off, I got